it was all of that kind of East Indian, really super high level playing, and
that music is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. You know, and we talked about yoga earlier. It all ties into that tradition, right? The mystic kind of stuff, and how that music is really tuned to make your brain go in a certain direction and to calm you and leave you open to learning new stuff and to be able to meditate. And that's really what that music's all about. You know, that's why there's not a big bunch of harmony around it. It's all melody and rhythm.
Droney kind of a lot of time too. And
so there's that fine temperament isn't there, right? The tuning's different.
It's like a weird amount of welcome dissonance going on.
Yeah.
That kind of adds to, I think the whole idea is expanding consciousness.
It is, man. And, totally what that music's about.
I think and when music in the West is done well too, it has a similar effect. You just leave a show sometimes just feeling so elated.
Yeah, that's right. Probably one of the heaviest times for me playing where I left the stage like that was playing with Tanya Tagaq, the throat singer, the Inuit throat singer.
Okay.
And she's on 6 Shooter Records. She's got a bunch. She won the Polaris Prize a few years ago. And the regular string guy, the great Jesse Zubat, he had gone off on a mystical experience, and he didn't come back in time.
Oh my God!
And this guy is like, you know, he's a teetotaler, and he's not really like he's not a pothead or anything like that. But he got a hold of some shrooms, some out west shrooms, and was, you know, again trying to expand his own consciousness. Even though, I mean, if you hear this guy play, you're like, what do you need drugs for? This guy's one of the best musicians I've ever heard. Anyway, for some reason, he couldn't make this show out here. So Jean Martin, who's a great drummer that I work with a lot, calls me up and says, hey man, you want to do a show with Tanya Tagaq at the Halifax Pop Festival? I'm like, sure. When is it? Oh, tonight. I'm like, what? So I boogied down to the church, and she was all of that in a bag of chips, man. Like, I played. It was an hour-long show. It felt like 5 minutes, but I can remember everything, and I was totally straight. I can remember every single pedal move I made, every time I switched my pickup on my guitar, you know, whatever I can remember every single move. But it felt like 5 minutes, literally. I couldn't believe it was over, and it was like an hour long, right?
Yeah.
It was nuts. It was unbelievable. And she's all about the whole native thing, right? And animal spirits. And fortunate for me, I've been way up north. I haven't traveled much in my life, but I've been way up north to the tundra, like just and hanging out in a place called Spence Bay. So I had a little bit of a feel about, you know, how wild and empty the land is that she comes from, even though she comes from further south. But it's still like,
oh my God,
it's just nothing. Did you make it up
I
there?
never went up north. It's still on the list, but even just going across to the coast, it struck me just how empty Canada is in general. It's just so much empty wilderness. Like, this country
really
is massive.
We're so lucky.
Oh, it's it can't be understated.
Yeah.
I would love to go up there though.
It's our associate Gina Burgess, great violin player, played in Gypsophilia.
Okay.
And she's been able to kind of put a bit of her career up there. She plays with a group called the Jerry Cans. So she's up there 3 or 4 times a year. They tour around up there. There is a lot of money for music in that community, both, you know, from the federal government and the territorial or provincial governments. They put money into their artists, right? And they support their artists. That's that kind of stuff. Not that we don't, but it's just because because their traditions and their culture is so easily threatened.
Yeah. That
they have to put something to buttress the creativity of their people, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds unreal.
No, it was really something. But yeah, Tanya is. She look up in the back. Tanya is. If you hear, I'd highly recommend to check her out. She'll move you, man. That's incredible throat singer, but also just an incredible singer, which I didn't know until because I've only ever heard her do her thing, and then it turns out that she's just got this incredible voice. The place was like standing room only, everyone on their feet. They wouldn't let her go. It was just it was really something.
That's unreal.
Yep,
I can definitely relate to that feeling of. Wow, we just played an hour and we're halfway through the last song. And it's like, where did the time go?
Yeah, because you're having a great time.
Yeah,
right?
It just flies.
Yeah, and that's why we do it.
Spend most of your time just in the preparation for that amazing moment that goes by in an instant. Basically.
That's right. Yeah,
and then just back at the grind. Can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, and hope that you can find that magic again. Right?
Yeah, because it's definitely not a guarantee.
It isn't. It really isn't. And there's always going to be a disappointing show, and there's always going to be a series of unfortunate events that might, make that thing not happen.
Yeah.
As well, the venue sucks. There's gear breakdown. There's a truck breakdown.
Oh my God! It could be anything. It's so unlikely that it would happen. It's amazing it never does.
That's what I always say. I say that a lot about music.
Yeah.
And just how rare it is.
Yeah.
It's so easy for us to take it for granted because there's so much machinery now that you can just turn an endless list of songs on your phone, on your computer. Yeah. There's just a million songs that you can listen to. And then it just never ends, right? And then, but then you go hear a live band and you go, well, how the heck did they do that?
Yeah. That's what you're looking for as an audience member.
Yeah.
Is to be not have any idea how that happened.
Yeah.
Just leave you awestruck.
Yeah, how much work it is to put on a great show, right?
Yeah. I've been thinking that more and more, just generalizing into everything. The fact that the society functions to any degree, I feel like it's more unlikely than it is likely. Yeah,
well, we're lucky that we live in a quite non-violent society, and of course we have lots of problems that are
that's for sure
under the radar as far as racism and treatment of women and all. And Canada has that distinct thing of having not done very well, but as far as the Indigenous people is concerned, that's our big the black dot as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
There's still bad water in all the reserves. There's still, diseducated education going on. By that I mean that there is not an incentive to learn, and not an incentive to create a brain that wants to learn, and so you end up with a disproportionate number of Native American people in jails. That kind of thing, right?
Especially out in the prairies. It's like
it's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's everywhere. But it's pretty tricky.
I remember I got to do one of the sweat lodge ceremonies on the reserve in New Brunswick near Shediac.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
basically the way the ceremony was set up. There was 4 separate rounds and there's a bunch of different symbolism for each round of the sweat lodge. You started out, the direction was the east, and the intention was that the men in the sweat would pray for the women in their lives, alive or dead. Right. And then there was the south and the west and the north, and there was a small break in between each session.
Right.
And they each had a different theme. And so for the west, it was mirroring the east, where the women prayed for all the men in their lives that were either alive or dead.
Right.
And just it was mostly natives there, obviously. And it was so striking how many of them were praying for their brothers and sisters on the reserve who were just fully deep in the muck of the whole thing, addicted to drugs and alcoholics and just, domestic violence and who knows what else is going on. Maybe some corruption at the head of the whole thing. And it's just it's a wreck. It's an absolute wreck.
It has been a wreck, and the residential schools are fully to blame. because they were deliberately set up to destroy a society. So what we're witnessing is a group of people whose society has been destroyed, their culture has been destroyed, their language was destroyed. And when you destroy the language, then you destroy all the narrative. It goes back to the narrative. And that's why when you look at like the work of Alan Syliboy, I don't know if you know his great painter, his son Evan's great guitarist. Alan Syliboy, there's a ton of great artists. And they're all about rediscovering the narratives and the old stories, right? The parables that you find in the Native American languages, but also just telling the truth about the residential schools and the mistreatment and the racism and the absolute taking away the vote and all that stuff. Just like they're not civilians, they're not part of our society, they're always out there, right?
Yeah, we've done next to nothing to integrate both of our ideals together.
Yeah, and I'm not really, I guess the integration doesn't concern me so much, but the fact that the effects of people when they don't have a story.
Yeah. You're just lost.
You're kind of lost,
Yeah.
So that's a toughie. Again, it kind of gets back to what we do. Making music is a way of sharing our story and also listening to other people's stories and putting them into a song and, having a message. Even if I write, because most of what I do is instrumental, but I still have an intent in my brain. If I have a piece and I'll give it a title about something, even though there's no words to it, it's still like the title's speaking about where that little melody or chord change came from.
Yeah. Maybe you can speak to this as well, since I imagine you're spending a lot of time around younger people, teaching and everything.
Yeah.
It's like part of something that I see is people's narratives being completely blown apart by like modern day science in some ways. Like young people just consider themselves to be this meaningless speck of dust on a small insignificant planet out in some far reach of one of the insignificant galaxies among hundreds of billions of other galaxies.
Right.
And I think people really, a lot of people seem to have a really strong sense of insignificance in regards to their own lives. And I don't know, do you see that in young kids, or is that...
It might be where a lot of the anxiety I see coming from, because this year is I just see a lot of anxiety in people under 25. And it's anxiety that a lot of these kids have lived with for their whole, ever since they, came into their gender, kind of, when they stopped being kids and their adolescence and their teenagehood and stuff like that. And then that's when your body changes. That's when a lot of this anxiety stuff will come on. But not only is there's that level of insignificance, I think, that we all kind of deal with, but also we're dealing with the decimation of life on our planet. There's never been so much extinction. There's never been so much pollution.
Yeah.
Climate is changing. I mean, we're sitting here. It's the middle of February, and or the end. March, but beginning of March. There's no snow on the ground, and it's been sort of hovering around 5 or 10 degrees.
Yeah, I'm walking around with a sweater.
Yeah.
Like a light one.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I'm almost like half testing people when I have the energy for it.
Right.
Be like, some crazy weather we're having, right?
Yeah.
And then they go, oh my God, yeah, it's beautiful, it's amazing. Even some of my yoga teachers commenting on how beautiful the weather is.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
It is beautiful, but it's also so unnerving to me.
It's unnerving, and speaking of anxiety and all that kind of stuff, even though people don't really know it, they don't recognize it, but life on the planet's changing, right? There's the way we're going to live our lives is going to have to change, because our resources and the way even that we make money is going to change, because there's just not going to be climate change is going to affect